Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Aussie Roll Call podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stevie. Did you know that the chief scribe or head editor of the Forgotten Realms Wiki is Australian? I didn't learn that until very recently. The Forgotten Realms Wiki is probably the most popular D&D wiki on the internet. It has over 56,000 pages, and it basically tries to cover everything about the very popular Dungeons & Dragons setting created by Ed Greenwood. Kate and I sat down and chatted with the chief scribe, who is Australian, Brad, also known as BadCatMan, about what it's like to run such a massive wiki, how they create and edit new articles. We ask him about the kinds of games that he plays. He seems to mostly play by post, and so much more. Kate and I had an absolute blast chatting to Brad, and we hope you enjoy this interview as much as we enjoyed doing it. And just a reminder, if you like the work that we do here at Aussie Roll Call and want to support us, the best way you can do that is to rate and review this particular podcast on whatever app you're listening on. It really helps us a bunch. It tells the apps that we are a valuable podcast and will hopefully show us to more people who are also interested in this content. So thank you so much. Let's dive into that interview with Brad now.
Thank you, Brad, for joining us for a recording of Aussie Roll Call. I know about what you do. Stevie knows about what you do. But for anyone who doesn't know who this Brad person is, can you tell the internet a little bit about what you do?
I'm Brad. I go by BadCatMan on the internet, on Twitter and the wiki and other places. Normally I'm a technical editor. On the wiki, I call myself chief scribe. So what I do is, obviously I edit a lot of articles, handling language editing and helping new people, advising the regulars, and doing promotions and stuff. So I guess people think I'm in charge. I'm more the dungeon master of the group.
So you were definitely not in charge is the vibe.
Accidentally, incidentally in charge from competency is usually the way that works for a lot of people. The Forgotten Realms Wiki is used by a ridiculous number of people for a ridiculous number of things. Some people are aware that I use it for slightly more nefarious things than other people. Others use it as a great resource for their own just general game content. What got you into creating what is a database used by a lot of people?
So as a player, I was always lore-focused. I'd always read through the books, learn all the background, try and incorporate that in my characters. Especially because I play online, I'd have a lot of opportunity. Not online, you normally do video conferencing, but I always do play-by-post, sort of creative writing, prose, playing. And as a dungeon master, I'd always write up huge, long backgrounds of information on each region of the Forgotten Realms for my players. And eventually I realised I should just put that all online, so it was all in one place. I didn't have to keep looking at the books, and I could share that with everyone else. Went on to wikis. I started another wiki at first, worked on that for a couple of years, had some dramas with the group, I guess. I moved on to the Forgotten Realms Wiki and found a much better community. I didn't want to get involved, but soon I was just right in there doing everything. That was shortly after the 4th edition came through, and Wiki was struggling through that, so I got involved in a lot of clean-up and stuff. Someone I played with earlier, Hashimashadu, his name goes by. He was one of the first admins of the Forgotten Realms Wiki, so he gave me admin rights and the bureaucrat status is what it's called. So all became owners of the Forgotten Realms Wiki, and so I got right into it. First with adding character background and developing and expanding and growing. I've been doing that for the last 12 years.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's astounding. I don't think people realize exactly how long the Forgotten Realms Wiki has been used and updated and how many editions. Yeah. So if you're still playing 4E, the resource is or 3 or 3.5, it's there. The content is there. The answers to the questions that you have are on the Forgotten Realms Wiki.
Yeah, there are over 50,000 pages on the wiki, which is just an astonishing amount of content to...
Every few months we go up another 1,000.
Yeah. Wow.
Just casually another 1,000. It's the kind of numbers that some people are like, that's... No, never in their right mind. But then again, we all play TTRPGs, so maybe we don't have a right mind. Do you have a favorite? I'm loath to say favorite page because I feel like there's too many pages. Do you have a favorite page or topic or subsection of the wiki that you like going in and getting your hands all over?
I guess we all have one favourite page that everyone in the group loves. Is the Our Earth page, because the Forgotten Realms has always had a bit of a broken fourth wall, where the story goes that Elminster will come to Earth and chat with Ed Greenwood over food and eat him out of house and home and share the lore. And so that was always through the Forgotten Realms. So it makes a huge long Earth page where we try to document Earth as it looks to Toriel. So we do all these wacky things in there. So I was just looking at today for the project. So we all love that page and had a lot of fun with that one. Then we have other ones like the turnip page, which is just everything you possibly want to know about turnips for some reason.
So I can understand how a Stardew Valley wiki would have a turnip page, but I am very confused as to why the Forgotten Realms wiki has a turnip page.
Turnips are just a naturally hilarious vegetable. And so games like Baldur's Gate 2 had a gnome who was obsessed with turnips. So that just generates a whole pile of turnip lore. And then Baldur's Gate 3 got into the turnip action, so we all included that, so it just grows and grows.
I've just pulled up the turnip page while we're talking to the quote, "The turnip trade is a demanding mistress," which I think says everything one needs to know about the turnip page.
There's a new NPC one-liner right there.
Yeah.
Stealing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you mentioned admins. There's obviously not just you. You are not taking on over 50,000 pages all by yourself. And I'm guessing the team has grown and changed over the years. Is it a big team? Do you all get along now?
I think we've always gotten along. Sometimes we have some disagreements over policy or how to resolve a situation, but they don't get too strong and we easily move past them. Unlike in some other groups I've seen, they're pretty peaceful. We're a quite small team. People usually don't expect it. There's only about a dozen of us actively working at any one time, and probably less than 100 have worked on it heavily for the last 19 years. It's a small group of people, but you put a lot of work in it. Some people are quite prolific. They just put out stacks of pages each day. It always surprises me. Wish I could do that.
I don't really know much about what goes into managing a wiki beyond, you add pages and you edit and you moderate and that sort of thing. But for a wiki of this size, what kind of time commitment are we talking about here? Like, it sounds like some people are, it's almost like a full-time job, or...
Yeah, it can be a full-time job. Sometimes you can start in the morning if you've got a free day and just work all through doing a lot of maintenance and management. So my day, I'd start with just editing other people's articles. So I work as an editor, so I find editing kind of relaxing. So I just edit a whole bunch of articles, both from the regulars and the newbies, to get sorted, get started. And then after that, I just find some old articles that have some issues and work through trying to resolve those issues, so adding references, cleaning up some mess, improving the language and stuff. And hopefully, if I get time after that, I can work on my own projects on the wiki. So I just go through the books, find the lore, lay it all out to an article and try and write that out into a nice, easy-to-read article.
Speaking of that and the editing work that you have to go through, do you have any tips for people who want to contribute to the wiki in terms of, like, what makes good additions, like, obviously references, as you've just mentioned, but, like, anything else that you think makes a good article for the Forgotten Realms wiki?
First, basically, always add a reference. If it doesn't have a reference, we'll just remove it because we think it's homebrew or nonsense or vandalism. We can't verify that. Otherwise, I'd say start small. There's a bit of a learning curve. Wikis are fairly easy, but people don't quite know where to start. So I always just say start small and just learn one thing at a time, wait a bit, see if anyone wants to fix that up, and then do the next thing and start level 1 and work your way up.
Gain your own real-world wiki experience points.
Always feel free to ask regular editors, either on the forum or catch us on some of the Discords.
I am here with Meek from The Blushing Bard. Meek, what is your favourite snack to have at the table?
I'm a chip girl, which I know is contentious because it's very crunchy and noisy. But no, I am a chips, or a good charcuterie board, but like a proper spread.
Love it. And what is your favourite dice? It can either be shape or set.
You have to say classic D20, although also the diamond shaped like D4, that's kind of like bougie, so...
And what is your favourite tabletop game to introduce new players to?
At the moment, it's Good Society, because I'm very into that at the moment and all the collaboration. But also, there's also a bit of classicness to D&D as well.
Wonderful. And what is your tabletop must-have? What do you have to have at the table?
An open mind and a sense of adventure.
And if you could have any companion animal or familiar, what would it be?
A bee that can't fly. I only say that because I've played that before and it was horrendous, but it was the right CR rating and it was great.
So it sounds like you have quite the extensive physical library from which you are pulling a lot of these references. Do you have a system of organization for that library, or do you just happen to know where everything is? And how have you accumulated all of these books over the years? I'd love to know more about the physical side of the wiki.
I only got a few novels second hand I've bought. Mostly I have a lot of PDFs we found online, bought stuff. So yeah, a huge stack of folders full of PDFs that we can just browse through. One of the most amazing things one of our editors has done has coded a fully searchable database of every Dungeons and Dragons book for the Forgotten Realms. It's quite incredible. We can just type in term and a second later we got every source it's appeared in. We're not too sure we can share it with the public or not. Maybe one day it'll come out.
I think every single DM or, in fact, most of our listening audience just went, gimme.
When that became active, our output just went up incredibly rather than just being able to work off one book or maybe search through all the PDFs we have. It might take ages. We can just go and get everything we want and just create a complete article from that.
That is astonishing. That would, I can see how that would absolutely optimize the research component.
Yeah, so we've also rounded up a lot of the articles that used to be on the old Wizards of the Coast websites that can only be found through Internet Archives now. He's crawled through that and compiled them all together. And we've also been archiving everything Ed Greenwood has to say. So his word is gospel on the Forgotten Realms. So we've been archiving that.
Yeah, I love that we all go to the Forgotten Realms Wiki as our database, and yet there is a hidden secret database under the database that we all now want access to.
Not gonna lie, I do feel like I'm talking to a wizard. Like, that is the vibe that I'm getting in this conversation, is that there is this repository of knowledge, and then there's, like, also another repository of knowledge that exists behind that I don't have access to. I'm loving it.
It's quite fun. We always find something that I never expected to find.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I have 100% gone to Brad and been like, hey, so Oblexus, any more information than what's on the Forgotten Realms Wiki?
Yep, I went straight to the database and looked up Oblexus and all these weird sources. And a few things there I can help with.
I think it's wild that that we even are lucky enough to have access to something like the Forgotten Realms Wiki, though. I think I would be remiss not to say on behalf of players, DMs, and writers across the internet, thank you for your service to our non-collective brain pool.
We're glad to help. Mostly we do it for ourselves. We put up our own character backgrounds, campaign backgrounds and notes, and just things we're fans of and want to write about, or just you feel like you need to talk about turnips one day, so you want to write about building words on turnips.
I'm going to go look at the turnip page. I'm going to plumb the depths of the turnip page.
I can imagine that after this podcast, the view ratio on the turnips page just goes up.
Yeah, we just have to we'll put a link in the description exclusively. Here's a link to the Forgotten Realms Wiki. It just happens to be the turnip page.
We like it when people find these fun things we got hidden around the wiki.
You should organise some sort of Easter egg hunt for the wiki.
Oh no. Stevie, you're going to ruin my life. I feel like it's only fair to ask, do you have a favourite D&D related memory? It could be about building stuff on the wiki. It could be a game you've played. Do you have any favourite moments? Because, I feel like you should share what you love about this game.
There's quite a lot of them over the years. Fun jokes or important RP scenes. There's one time a monk of Ilmater, Forgotten Realms as god of righteous suffering and endurance. So a situation where we found the cultists were going to summon the big black dragon and destroy Comia. And we were wandering around the forest at the time, and I asked exactly how far is it back to town, because I've been wandering around for a day, but how far is exactly? And worked out that range was just about in running distance. So my monk just put on his sandals and ran for the whole day, and invented the marathon for Faerun. Reported the news to the town, summoned the army, ran back in time, saved the party from orcs, and then next day broke in and stopped the evil priest. She killed him with a swift kick to the head. So that's fun, and I kind of invented the Thunderstone Run as a marathon, as an event at Olympics Games-like event in one of my games later on.
I love it when characters have like actual influence on the world and create like cultural moments, not just we save the world, but also like an ongoing tradition or cultural phenomenon such as the marathon in this case. That is super cool.
And currently I'm running a campaign for my fellow editors on the Forgotten Realms Wiki called Legacy of the Green Regent, based on an old RPGA campaign. So in adventure around Loudwater, and some of the players are Scions of the Green Regent, unicorn stamped on their heads. Got this whole little world of our own now for the wiki, fictional world that using for our project and things, our own version of the Forgotten Realms.
I love the idea of a group of, as you've put it, Stevie, wizards of wizardry getting together and playing their own version of D&D. That makes me happy. Like, we have all the lore in our brains, so let's play like this but bigger. You and I have talked, and we have mentioned a couple of times, quote unquote, the project. Are you in a position to talk about what the project is? Because I feel like I know, but Stevie doesn't know what the project is.
Yeah, I feel like I can't wait to talk about the project. Exclusive announcement, I can tell you all that the Forgotten Realms Wiki is going to write a book. It is called The Forgotten Realms Wiki Presents Juniper's Companion to Venturesome Cookery. It is a cookbook set in the Forgotten Realms. So yeah, in my campaign, one of my players, Artie, is playing a halfling wizard called Juniper Cholgo of the Cholgo cheese family business. So she's one of the Green Regents, Scions of the Green Regent. And we've done that for about 2-3 years. A couple of years ago, he started a cooking blog where Juniper would write up recipes about dishes from the Forgotten Realms lore, because Ed Greenwood put recipes in some of his articles, and some novels that have characters have this dish or whatever. So he cooked those up, write about them, and been writing his blog fairly regularly for the last 2 years. Got a bit popular. Even Ed Greenwood's a fan of it and talks about it in some of his videos. And people talk about, you should write a book about this. And so I started seriously thinking about this, proposed it to Artie, hashed out ideas for a while. And this year he got the ball rolling on that. So we're compiling that into a proper gourmet cookbook. Because Artie has big foodie, has qualifications in French cooking, and I completely know nothing about cooking. So as a scientific editor on a cookbook, it's been quite an experience. Everything I don't know, I've had to look up, ask Artie about, ask my mum about, and I think, I should explain that. So he's got the full recipe, the background lore, and I'm writing these things in the background. This is why we're doing this, or this is what this means, the French terminology. So it's kind of gourmet cooking for the rest of us. As well as the cookbook, we've got lore and little sidebars about various places in the Forgotten Realms, articles going into excessive detail about some vegetable or food, or restaurants and taverns and inns and other things, magical items related to cookery and spells.
That is phenomenal. I'm just scrolling through some of them now, and like some of them even have like the traditional blog, like recipe blog format of here is a little preamble story before I actually give you the recipe, and that is so amazing to have that sort of like be all in world.
So we've got all sorts of new stories for all those recipes, new bonus recipes unique to the book. There are 60 whole dishes, 10 new ones, over 100 individual recipes all up, and even more variations of what you can do with them. We set out to be bigger than Heroes Feast, and we are. Not as good as photography though, but do our best.
It's about cooking. It's not about photography. It's not a photography book.
I've even learned to draw, so they've got all these nice, cute little black and white sketches in there that feel like classic medieval drawings and like the old D&D source books, where I think it's quite characterful.
Yeah, it does have a certain charm to it. That is going to be absolutely amazing. And is there any sort of like release date schedule or anything in terms of like timeline that you can share about this project?
Done when it's done, but I hope to have it done before Christmas so people can have something weird they can bring to their family dinner.
Oh yeah, it's close. It's close.
Almost finished. I've got several more recipes we've got to add some more lore to or straighten out. And I'm going to write some more preamble, which I've been working on today. For our cover art, we've got a piece by Brian Valiza, who does a lot of pieces for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and Pathfinder, Starfinder, and other stuff. And we've got Ed Greenwood himself writing a preface for the book. And Stephen E. Shend, another of the original Forgotten Realms writers, has written a nice little piece about halflings in Tethia, which you just got this morning, so it's also quite fun.
That's very cool. And where will this be available?
Dungeon Masters Guild, we hope.
I have a sneaking suspicion that everyone associated with this podcast, as soon as we know it's up, is going to be like, right, excuse me, I will be back. I just have to go and organize myself 100 recipes for Christmas. Thank you very much.
I've even developed a recipe myself with a lot of help from Artie. Shielded Thavor potatoes, which is a potato baked with parmesan, and it is absolutely delicious. I love that one.
Like, I'm just like sitting there being like, okay, so what potatoes? I need potatoes, and I need to figure out all these different things. And I'm guessing that there will be, when launch happens, a page on the wiki on the front page to celebrate the launch of said cookbook and links and all of that, so people can go to the Forgotten Realms wiki and also immediately go and get themselves your cookbook.
We'll start publicising it heavily. Hopefully all the buzz gives me enough motivation to push through the finish line. Hopefully we aim for another cookbook later on next year or sometime after that, or see what other books we can...
Is it going to be from the same in-world chef, or is there going to be a new chef taking up the mantle?
Artie has enough recipes on that page on the website, on the wiki, and in his own notes. I think he'd go for years. Probably list 3 books out of him.
But will they all be from Juniper, is my question.
Yes.
Juniper's... They will be? Okay.
Oh, there's most of them from Juniper. One of them from my gnome editor, Monosyllabic Word Wrangle.
That's a great name. That is a great name. I love a good name, and that is a good name. That is a good name.
When we say venturesome cookery, we definitely mean that. There are recipes for snails, snake, and sturges.
I did see the Sturges
Blood-sucking
one.
vampire bat creatures.
I have many a player that I've managed to terrorize with Sturges.
Well, now you can have sturges on toast.
I think it's an interesting thought to be like, oh look, these people who edit are now in the process of editing, but just something different. And it's nice. Like, I mean, you mentioned that outside of Forgotten Realms, you're a science editor, which I also know. That like this use of the same skills in different ways feels very TTRPG to me. That we all take the skills we have from elsewhere and whack them together. And for some of us, it comes out as the Forgotten Realms wiki, and everybody benefits.
I feel like this is a point that we've talked a little bit about on the show before, Kate. I think we talked about it with Cat Clay, about there is an overlap in TTRPGs between creative writing and technical writing. And, having both those skills is really an asset when crafting stuff in this space.
Yeah, especially in cooking. Or trying to walk the line between trying to discuss things technically, because when I come from a scientific editing standpoint, I want everything to be precise and clear. So I'm always pushing Artie for, what does this mean? What does this mean? Why are we doing this? So I want to explain everything, but also to keep the character of Juniper come through, and in the story and lore parts, and try and keep it flexible enough to be entertaining as well.
Tone-wise, it's obviously a very different piece from the wiki, because you do actually have a very distinct character voice that is carrying this book. How have you found working on something that has such a strong character voice that has to carry through the whole text?
Not a big problem for me, really. For the wiki, articles tend to naturally be fairly dry. I always encourage people to have a little bit of fun with it within the article framework, so they can slip in some jokes or a nice turn of phrase here and there. Because I'm also a writer, I write stories. I'm also write a lot as player and Dungeon Master. I write in play-by-post gaming, so I'm always writing fiction and non-fiction. I can just do the whole run the gamut of styles without too much problem, so I can just bounce back and forth between them as I go through the book.
I ran a 3-year campaign, and without the work that you, Brad, and your team did with the Forgotten Realms wiki, I would have been completely lost. I had players at my table who were very well steeped in Forgotten Realms lore. I came in not being that well steeped, and absolute lifesaver.
We love to introduce people to the world. There's always something more to discover, which is what always brings us in. There's always one more thing to find, one more thing, and you tug on this thread and you're going down a rabbit hole. Sometimes we fear to go into certain issues because we're just going to spend the rest of the day working on that thing.
Let's go into our fast 5 questions. So listeners to the podcast will be very familiar with this. This is our fast rapid fire questions. There is no wrong answer, although as previously mentioned in this podcast, Cat Clay had opinions that not everyone has necessarily agreed with since.
I love how she's become the villain.
She has
this
become the
segment.
villain of the snacks. It's true. But I don't think there are any wrong answers other than possibly that.
Was it sticky pastries?
Even that's not really wrong.
Yeah, pastries.
Pastries. She said pastries. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Actually, we're not, because the first question is, right, what is the best gaming table snack? You've rocked up, you're sitting down, you're playing. What are you snacking on?
Sticky pastries. Because I'm always either at a table or on a screen or something, I'm doing play-by-post, I'm writing, so I'd say coffee and a nice sweet snack like the biscuit, cake, the pastry or whatever. Something to help you relax, focus, and get into the mood for writing and creativity.
Sounds good. This is sort of a two versions question. So favourite dice. Now, it can be shape, or it can be set, or it can be both.
I'm going to be, I don't know, old school and just say the old Chessex set. That's probably everyone's first set of dice and probably has everyone's first game memories on it. When I went to buy dice for my first game, I picked bright yellow because I didn't want to get lost or mix up everyone else's dice. So I always loved those. I've got a couple sets since, but they're my favourites. And been teaching my niece in maths, so I went and bought her a set of dice, same sort, just in pink. I haven't even taught her RPGs yet, so I'll get onto that, which is more maths practice.
Soon. Do you have a favourite shape as well, or do you just have a favourite set?
Just a
Are
set.
you a D4 person? Just a set. That's fair.
I think D12 needs more love. That's it.
D12, there you go. Do you have a favourite game, and it can be D&D, and I have a sneaky suspicion it might be, to introduce brand new RPG players to?
Actually, I'd say D&D often feels like too big, too rules heavy of a system for the new people who might not be used to all that. So if you were to introduce a newbie, you'd probably find something that's smaller or tailored to their interests or things. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say the Doctor Who Vortex system from Cubicle 7. I always thought that was a nice balance of rules, story focus, and it's a lot of fun stuff that I've had a lot of fun to play with. Think of that one if I was teaching someone. Currently, I'm considering Magical Kitty Save the Day for the kids. So I might try that.
Can confirm, Magical Kitty Save the Day is great. Next question. So you've got your dice, you've got your game and your character. What else do you need at the tabletop table? What's your other tabletop must-have?
I'll be different again and say for the play-by-post writing, it's always good to have nice mood music to listen to get yourself into writing mood, and also it has nice pictures to show your players to give them the a style of help them imagine what they're looking at, and a map to help them get a good grasp of the situation, especially in the battle. I make all my maps in MS Paint. Very low tech.
Old school and classic. No, love it.
You mean the kind of software that like mimics the way that someone would doodle something? Absolutely, fine. No notes. Absolutely no notes.
An ancient D&D mapping program I still use. I've adapted everything. I made a bunch of stuff for that in Paint, so I always use that. So every time I do a new round for a battle, I'm drawing noise lines on Paint and putting down little letters and things and colouring them out. Fortunately, each round only comes about once a week or so because play-by-post is so slow.
You're not having to have a ridiculously high output.
One ran adventure book that lasted in a campaign that lasted about 12 years. I got very used to a long-term thinking for that. I'd have plans in my head, no notes. I'd have it all in my head for years on time.
All right. Well, something speedier rather than something that takes 12 years. What is the last question of our Fast Five? If you could have a companion in 5e, a little minion, animal, little robot, what would it be?
I would say I like the Tresiums, the winged cats from the Forgotten Realms. They sound like more fun, also more chaos and mischief. In one Eberron campaign, my changeling wizard had a shape-shifting cat familiar. So it's always a different breed of cat and could turn to different animals, say a snake or a bird or a toad. And I could adjust that for whatever the mission was. So that was always fun, having a different pet each time. A cat or cat plus is a familiar.
Sounds great.
No notes.
No notes. Yeah, no, none. All correct answers. I am sure that there will be people all over the internet clamoring to either A, find out more about this cookbook, or B, talk to you about the Forgotten Realms Wiki. Where can people find you? What is your preferred contact method of choice?
The Forgotten Realms Wiki.
Yeah, via the wiki. Sounds right.
It's pretty old school, but you can find talk pages and forums if you want to ask a question, someone that can help you. I'm also on the Greenwood's Grotto Discord and Eberron Discords if people need to find me. There's wiki channels in there. They can ask questions of me or the other editors. I'm also on Twitter and Blue Sky as the BadCatMan.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for giving some of your evening with us. We will let you to your evenings and your real life cats. But thanks again for sitting down and having a chat.
Glad to talk to you. Nice talking to you.
And on to news for this week. The first piece of news we have was submitted by Glenn Watkins. Glenn submitted this via our news submission form, which is linked down below in the description. So if you have a piece of news that you want us to promote, please use that form. It does make our lives a hell of a lot easier than trying to run around on the internet and find all of the news. This is a crowdfunding campaign from Glenn at Every Trick Books, and it is for a book called Vendors of the Veil. So what is Vendors of the Veil all about? The description on the Kickstarter says, players love a good shopping session, but what do you do when you are far away from the nearest city and the local frontier town isn't going to have a magic shop that will sell the characters what they need, or a library to research the next plot hook, or even someone who might know about this weird fish they caught? This book contains 30 different vendors that can be found away from the hustle and bustle of the big cities. Each vendor features a description, a backstory, a plot hook, and a list of items that they sell. Some of these plot hooks may lead to a small adventure, and they've included 3 of those in the book, complete with maps and stat blocks. So this book is going to be great for anyone running sort of like those fantasy TTRPG campaigns, if you want to have a bigger variety of vendors that aren't located in big cities. There are also a couple of add-ons as well, which are a couple of adventures suitable for Tier 1 and Tier 2 play. This Kickstarter will be running until the 19th of December, so you still have some time if you are listening to this nearabouts when this episode goes live. So I will put a link to the Vendors of the Veil Kickstarter in the show notes. The next piece of news I have is the Tabletop Stocking Stuffers. The next piece of news I have is that the Tabletop Stocking Stuffers, which, if you might recall, was a game jam run by Hugh Lashbrook a couple of months ago, has now gone live with a bundle from 30-something creators. This bundle features 1 single sheet TTRPGs, and there are over 41 of those. This is a pay what you want bundle, so if you want to pay nothing or you can't afford to pay anything, you can still grab all of these independent, very small TTRPGs. And if you would like to support the creators, you can pitch in whatever you feel is appropriate. I'll also put a link to that in the show notes too. Full disclosure, I also happen to have a game in this bundle, as well as some other members of the Australian TTRPG scene. And that is all for news this week.
Some people have been asking us what the best thing they can do is to support the podcast. And honestly, it's rating and reviewing it wherever you're listening to it. It really does help us reach brand new audiences and other listeners just like you. TTRPGs are for everybody, and we want to reach as many people as possible. No matter where you're from, we want you to be part of the discussion, part of the roll call here at Aussie Roll Call.
This podcast is produced in affiliation with the Australian roleplay community. If you'd like to join the ARC community, head to arcrpg.org, where you'll find a link to our vibrant and inclusive Discord server. Your hosts have been Kate O'Sullivan, Dan Machuca, and Stevie Schaefer. Cover art by Helen Graham of Juimon Studios. Title music is Sweet Sunday Groove by Slailkey. Interstitial music is Newer Wave by Kevin MacLeod, used under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. Production by Stevie Schaefer.